Thank you for auditing the always positive new music review show hosted by a French professor who's going to be embracing and perhaps exploiting the competitive nature of rap music. I'm going to be doing that in my review of the new album by Nicholas Craven and Boldy James, Fair Exchange, No Robbery. Now, what do I mean by the competitive nature? Well, in the West Side Gun produced album that I reviewed yesterday by Rome Streets, I sort of sensed there was like a fair amount of healthy competition between the producers that were on there. Of course, we had Conductor, We Have a Problem, Conductor, We Have a Problem Williams, and Camouflage Monk, and Daniel LaFleur, and a couple others, including The Alchemist. And, I think it's sort of on purpose, that we're sort of getting these producers who are much like rappers constantly competing against each other. All these great underground producers, sometimes drumless, sometimes not, always digging deep into crates, trying to find new and interesting ways to make great, interesting beats. And the way I've been thinking about it is that the whole time I reviewed that album, Kiss the Ring, great production all the way through, I knew that my review of this Nicholas Craven album was coming up. And I have a particular soft spot for Nicholas Craven. I really like his style. I'll be talking about it a lot. I really like his production. He's been having a killer year. He's reviewed 3 albums that I've liked that I haven't even had a chance to review yet, outside of this one. And the way I was thinking of it was this. In gambling, I don't gamble, but I'm aware of how gambling works. Sometimes there are figures so dominant that instead of gambling who is going to win, like back in the 90s, whatever, the PGA Tour, who's going to win, Tiger Woods or the field? Meaning the rest of the golfers all put together. It doesn't matter which one. That was how dominant he was. So that's what I'm sort of thinking here. Who's going to win? Nicholas Craven or the field? So at the end of this video, I'll sort of let you know who I think won this week of all these great underground producers. And maybe actually I'll change the metaphor to be more in line with hockey and more in line with Montreal, where Nicholas Craven is from. Instead of like Tiger Woods, let's imagine it's the NHL in the 1970s, where it would be a pretty good bet, the Montreal Canadiens or the field. Now I'm from Boston, one of the teams that was able to beat the Canadiens a couple times, not too many times. Still hate Guy Lafleur. It's a whole story. So that's the sort of metaphor I'm coming up with here. And I think we'll see how this metaphor plays out. And also, why not have Boldy James and Rome Streets in a head-to-head, a tete-a-tete competition as well? I mean, obviously these are all friends, or at least colleagues. All these producers work together. Boldy James is on the Rome Streets album. He has a great verse there. So I would say it's the friendly competition. Now this album is quite interesting. The title, Fair Exchange, No Robbery, it sounds weird. And the reason it sounds weird is that it's a really old British expression. I looked it up. The first known writing of it is in 1546, where it was spelled, "Though change be not robbery for the changed case." Essentially meaning this was a fair trade, no one got robbed. I really like the title because it's binary. Fair Exchange, No Robbery. Nicholas Craven, Boldy James. It has that kind of 1-2-1-2 punch. And then we have this beautiful cover. I'm going to show you the cover of the album right here. So that's the cover. Now, I have been accused of sample snitching, and I am not going to sample snitch. I might sample allude, because I did find some of the samples from this album, but I won't snitch. It is part of his artistry that's so great that I think talking about the samples you can do without snitching. But this is the cover. This is a jar of maple syrup, which you find all over Canada. Pur sirop d'érable on the other side in French. And this is just the cover. He just took this cover, he just took this image and copied it. Although he changed it, instead of 540 milliliters, he changed it to 227 for reasons I'll get into in a second. And I think it's symbolic that he chose this. I think this makes a lot of sense for a Nicholas Craven project, because I think the way that he sampled a maple syrup jar is sort of the way that he samples throughout this album. This sort of fun, familiar, yet decontextualized sampling. The way that he samples, I don't know how to describe it except to say that he finds these samples, he digs deep into crates, and I looked pretty hard to find all the samples here. I only found 2 or 3 of them. But, you connect to them. because that's the thing, right? Is that, lawyers and money killed hip hop, especially the lawyers. The whole De La Soul thing, the whole Biz Markie thing, where really sampling became so dangerous and so cost prohibitive that people stopped doing it, that it feels like there's almost like a lost generation, like a lost generation of samples. And, Kanye was still doing it, but he was the only one doing it really in the mainstream. And so we have all these great artists now who are finding these deep samples, changing them enough that I think even if I did sample snitch, it wouldn't matter. But beyond that, like one of my favorite techniques that Craven will do is he will cut the sample so that the first word of the loop is the last word you hear. So if I were to say, so that if the sentence is twinkle, twinkle, little star, it would be like star, twinkle, twinkle, little, star, twinkle, twinkle, little, star, twinkle, twinkle, little. So that it has a kind of unreal quality to it. And the things that he chooses, I think this is really worth emphasizing because so much of this is a direct heritage from the RZA and from the Wu-Tang Clan and from the grimy hip-hop of the 90s. His beats aren't very grimy. They hit hard, they're well made, but there's a certain lightness to it. I go back to that image of the cabana sucre, the maple syrup cabin on the cover. There is something kind of light, not grimy about this music, about these samples that he finds. And it's interesting having this very light production, easy breezy, on a horse-ridden sleigh in the snow as you tap your sugar maple, with Boldy James, who's sort of the opposite, who's very dark, who's very murky in his approach. Super skilled. I mean, that's the thing that, first of all, I missed a Boldy James project. He did 2 albums with Alchemist. I didn't do the second one. I've missed at least three Nicholas Craven albums, at least 1 Boldy James albums. Hey, underground hip hop, could you just chill the F out for like 1 minute? Do you know I have a full-time job? Okay, I work more than 40 hours a week in my full-time job. I can't keep up with it. That Freddie Gibbs project, I'm probably just gonna miss. Y'all keep me too busy. Anyways, it's good. Keep going. That's why this is the best era there's ever been for rap music. So we got Boldy James, who's just ridiculously skilled, but I think I cracked it. I think I figured out what it is about Boldy James, and he tells us. He's a junkie, or he's addicted to lean. Like, he talks about it several times on this album, about his addiction to opiates. And the thing is, like when you think about rappers who are addicted to opiates, and there's many of them, you think of Future. You think of some guy from Atlanta who's, oh my God, you think of some kind of mumbly mumble dude. You don't think of someone who constructs rhymes as interesting, who tells us his stories as sort of bittersweet and painful as Boldy James. So I think his whole like mumbly style, not even mumbly, he doesn't mumble, but his laconic is the word I will use, which means sort of like slow and deliberate. His slow and deliberate, what some people see as sleepy style, I think, must be a reflection of the substances. And I'm not saying either good or bad. I mean, I think it's bad because I want everyone to live forever. If it were up to me, no one would do any drugs and everyone would be happy and no one would self-medicate. Understanding that is unlikely to happen. I'm not here to pass judgment on it, but it is interesting because the album is so filled with regret. Like his position as a rapper, it feels to me, is quite drenched with regret for what he did in the past. And if you really pay attention, it seems that he really regrets being an addict now. So, I don't know. Maybe this album will be successful. Maybe he'll be on the way to recovery, and there'll be like a brand new Boldy James in a couple years who raps fast. I don't know. But let me give you an example of all this all together. With my stamp from the album, it's hard to say the best song on the album. I've listened to the album 6 times, and every time I like a different song. So the most recent one of my favorite songs is Power Nap. I'll include a link to it right there. Click above the banana, above the maple syrup, which I put in the back. And it starts off with the end of a conversation. So he's been having this phone conversation with somebody, presumably from jail, the entire album. It really gives you kind of peek behind the curtain at what kind of person Boldy James is. which is he seems like he's just a very good guy, a very nice friend, a very supportive person. And then this mournful... Nicholas Craven is able to make a beat that is like mournful and pitched up at the same time. So like pitching a beat so it goes faster usually makes things sound, like the Chipmunks, But here, it's still just, I go to sleep, I go to sleep. And these so there's no real drums, but there's snaps on the 2 and 4. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then a certain amount of strummed guitar, and it has a lullaby quality. So very clearly, there's a very consistent synthesis, working together of Nicholas Craven and Boldy James, where the theme of the song is about sleeping, and then the beat itself is about sleeping. At the very end, he extends out the sample, and I'll know that you'll wake me in the morn. I didn't find this sample. I couldn't find it. I found 1,000 songs called I Go to Sleep. Some of them are really good, by the way. Made me think of that great Wu-Tang song, I Can't Go to Sleep. And then we get to Boldy James's lyrics. And this is, in some ways, this song is an outlier. So with these stamps, I like to have an example song, but this song is sort of an outlier because it's a very clear, it's all tied around this one theme of sleep. Extendo full of sleeping pills, it's similar to Cyril Quill, wake your whole hood up, let Drake sing you lullaby. So this idea of putting you to sleep, meaning killing you, and the idea of bullets being sleeping pills. If I should die before I wake, lay me down to sleep. Left at sound asleep, they marked him off a tardy. 6 sleeping bags on the grass, it's a slumber party. So he's doing all these metaphors for death and murder and sleeping. So instead of, they're body bags, but he's calling them sleep body bags. But then he gets more interesting here. Long live my brother Marty, I keep ish moving on, but on some real ish, I ain't really slept since you've been gone. So here's this other theme. So half the time he's all like, I killed you, you're asleep, ha ha. And then we get this other side where we have this regret coming in. Drank, got a moving slow like I got special needs. Notice he's referring to himself. So he's saying that he is moving like he has special needs. Never needed for shit, for ish. Whatever, who cares if I swear? That was my expertise. Sandman, 1,000 pints in, we be selling sleep. Lemon lime, bittersweet, taste like a sour patch. Nodded out, trying to catch a wink. Took me a power nap. So I use the word junkie, and I know the word junkie is not applicable to people who are addicted to lean. I don't know what people who are addicted to lean are called. It's opiates, whatever. No insult implied. But that is part of the thing. Is nodding off. Just nodding off. You cannot control yourself, you fall asleep. I don't know if you've ever had the misfortune of being around people who are addicts to opiates. I think most of us have. I certainly have. And that's the way that that they're using. They're just, and you have 2 things you can do. You can pretend you didn't see it, or you can say, hey, are you addicted to opiates? The first one is much easier to do. It's the one actually I suggest because people don't get clean unless they want to. And then he switches again. So he gets super personal and you start to feel really bad for him. And then he says, get put under anesthesia for sleeping on me. Get put in a permanent sleeper just for speaking on me. He's getting super proud. He's talking about, that I think there's also kind of a pun here, or not really a pun, but he's playing around with the fact that maybe people think that his style is too sleepy, which is everyone can just shut up, I mean, not everyone can sound peppy. It's good if some people sound sleepy. If you're good, it doesn't matter the way that you deliver the words. Okay. Woke up, smacked to a half-empty Faygo, 10 empty bottles of cough syrup on the table. This idea over and over again of just kind of nodding out, and he's calling it a power nap, but it's very clearly not. I think it was an interview with Future once where he talked about how depressed he was when I think it was Juice WRLD told him, oh, you're the one who taught me that I should really start drinking lean, that this is very much sort of a cautionary tale. And my favorite line of the whole album is this line from this song. She asked me, why do I drink lean but have trouble sleeping? And this goes all the way back. So as somebody who, I'm a educated guy, I'm a compassionate human being. I don't want people to abuse drugs. It's unfortunate. It's bad for them. I don't want people to sell drugs. I don't like it. And I review this music that quite often has to do with how great it is to sell drugs and do drugs. The way I think about it, and the way I think we have to think about it, is that music is a reflection. It's not an instruction. So it's a reflection of things. So if there's a lot of rap music that's made about the crack epidemic, it's a reflection of the failure of America. It's a reflection of the failure of our country, failure of Reagan politics, failure of Clinton politics, failure of the African American community by the dominant power structures. So to me, that's why I can listen to crack rap all day, every day, because it's not individuals who are doing bad things. It's not exclusively that. It's also a reflection of this terrible problem that our society has with the prison system and the war on drugs. And when people sing about abusing drugs, especially like this, with this level of sadness, because this is really sad. I mean, don't let the maple syrup fool you. This is a really sad album. This is a really sad guy. Why do you drink lean but have trouble sleeping? This is the essence of, this is essentially a wonderful piece of art about self-medication and substance abuse. I'm sort of formulating these thoughts now as I'm talking, but the more I think about it, the more I realize the entire song, if we just take this one line, why do I drink lean but have trouble sleeping? People drink because they're depressed. Being depressed drinking makes you sadder, right? People often self-medicate in ways that is counterintuitive. So the fact that he's having trouble sleeping because of the trauma, which he talks about the rest of the album, the trauma of growing up in the hood, the trauma of being part of the drug trade, the trauma of seeing his entire community fall apart, losing his brother, I don't know, real brother or metaphorical brother, Marty, whoever Marty is. It's very clear that he is self-medicating, and the result of self-medicating is that he is drinking Betty Bye juice and not sleeping. It's the terrible reality of substance abuse. Smash the like bucket. I almost forgot, but I still haven't forgotten. Smash the like bucket if you like this kind of analysis, I feel bad because the way I kind of came out right out the bat, just calling him a junkie like that, it's not a good look. I mean, I'm not going to edit this because I don't edit my videos, but I think that's oversimplifying. So let's go through the rest of the album a little bit quicker here. Opens up with the track Straight and Tall. Now here's a sample that I did find. I'm not going to say who sings it. I'm not going to say what famous songwriting duo wrote the original song. But I will say this. What Nicholas Craven does to this is beautiful because he cuts it up sort of beyond comprehension. He mixes together different parts of this of the singing, and then the instrumentation is not simple. He actually melds a different sample or a different instrumentation like flute and guitars. It's not just taking one thing and looping it. It's like putting a couple things together and grow up straight and tall in this decontextualizing and recontextualizing of this line. It's beautiful. It's really beautiful. And the reason that it hurts me not to sample snitch is I want to tell you so that you can listen to the original so that you can say, God damn, Nicholas Craven. How did you do that? How did you think to take this song, this part of this song, and put it together and add those things onto it? It's so subtle, it's so fine. So, I don't know. But I'm not going to sample snitch. Pas de balance. I do like how thick Boldy James's accent is, that when he says straight and tall, it sounds like straight and tall. Just doesn't pronounce the L's. Some fun images here. Memoirs of an orca. We who ate the sharks. Mutants and killer whales. Those some baby sharks. And, just this chorus. I don't quite get everything he's saying. He does speak with a fair amount of kind of gangster slang I don't understand. On my third strike, it's just a friendly game of baseball. I assume that means third strike means third felony. You have to spend an entire life in jail. It's awesome. It's great. Awesome country we live in. America. Way to go. 3 strikes and you're out. You're out. 3 strikes. You call it 3 strikes and you're out. And that's a kind of a cute thing. Doesn't matter that we're literally sending someone to spend the rest of their life in jail. It's fine. It's great. It's great. And I think it's important that this is followed up by the first of these interstitial conversations with this person who appears to be in jail. I don't know who this is. Is it his friend, his childhood friend. Is it his brother? I don't know. Is it Marty? Is it the Marty that's referred to in the last song? I don't know. Next song is called Stuck in Traffic. This is that example. I couldn't find this sample either. It's some cool 70s thing. You speak to me, I'll not speak to me. Like obviously that's not the actual lyric. The actual lyric that he sampled it from can't be, you speak to me, I'll not speak to me. That doesn't make sense as a lyric. But that cutting that up, that's that little, twinkle, twinkle, little, star twinkle, twinkle, little, star twinkle, twinkle. It's that kind of style. He keeps on making reference to 227, which I looked up on Reddit and apparently is a reference to a zip code that is in Detroit. I thought it was in reference to the famous TV show 227 from the 80s, starring Jack Hay, made her a star. Interesting sort of sitcom about an apartment building. There weren't that many non-suburban sitcoms. It was an urban sitcom, both in the euphemistic way of saying that it was a sitcom with primarily black actors, but also urban as in it was in an urban setting. I understand you're probably thinking, oh, what Friends and Seinfeld, but there really was a time where most of the sitcoms were not in a city, but they were in the suburbs. So anyways, it's an interesting show. I do like his sort of essential, like the way he positions himself as a badass, because that's part of what rap is, right? Like there's different ways of positioning yourself as a badass. And his badass is very sort of detached. So if anyone's looking for me, tell them I'm stuck in traffic. Like that's great. That's just a great position to put yourself forward. More of this regret, this sense of loss, post-traumatic stress. I'm a nervous wreck, strung out on lean. I'm addicted to Percocet. Hey, you know what? Remember how I was tough on myself for saying that this guy's that his style can be marked by the fact that he identifies as a junkie. I'm not the one who's saying it. He's the one who's saying it. As far as I know, he might just be making this all up. I don't know. Then we get to the song Scrabble. This is some Maurice Richard beat right here. This beat is so good. All right. How do I even begin to describe the song Scrabble produced by Nicholas Craven? There's a weird intimacy to the sample. I can't quite say what he's saying. Like somewhere I'll go till I'm... And then there's this wood block. And the wood block, what's cool is that usually wood blocks are used on all four. 1, 2, 3, 4. But here, there's this break on the 1. So it's 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. And it just creates that beautiful just consistency that goes along with this totally idiosyncratic, impossible to place. I can't even figure out what he's saying. And with the woodblock, is a deep reference, but with the woodblock, it actually whenever I hear this song, I only can think of Buster Bluth from the fourth season of Arrested Development, when he's dancing around to a woodblock, and Tony Hale is doing his funny dancing. Maybe I'll do a TikTok where you hear this song and then you see him dancing. But it's probably the best beat on the album. I mean, the best thing about the beat is that it almost breaks out into the next part. Like he extends the sample by like a half a second, like a quarter of a second. And you're just like, please give me the rest of the sample. I want to hear the whole thing. Somewhere I'll go till I... Nope. Cuts back, doesn't go there. And then we have Scrabble. First of all, I like Scrabble. I used to play Scrabble a lot. I was really into Scrabble. I was never competitive. And then once Word with Friends came out, I just stopped because everyone got good at Scrabble and it wasn't fun anymore. I was a hipster. Jesus Christ. I'm a Scrabble hipster. How to brag while sounding like a loser. God. Now that I should edit out of my channel. I was into Scrabble before it was cool. Anyways, but it's funny, because he calls it Scrabble because he goes through all these different letters. So he's in a way, this is kind of like Power Nap, where he's had it all on these themes of letters. Makes me think Boldy James also had a verse where he just really goes over all these letters. FBI and the DIL snatch you, give you so many letters, look like you playing Scrabble. But he just has like Looks like we're playing Scrabble. Duck in the Alphabet Boys feels like we're playing Scrabble. Euro stepped the work so hard, damn near called to travel. Putting them squares back together like a game of Scrabble. So like it's cool because he rhymes Scrabble with Scrabble 3 times. In the middle, he has this image of Euro stepping, which is a way of doing a layup in basketball, where you just travel and no one calls you, as far as I can tell. But obviously, he's talking about stepping on a brick of cocaine, which thing he's talking about here. It's kind of a funny, it's a funny, interesting line. It's one of the rare, interesting ways to talk about crack that Pusha T hasn't already said. And then, putting the squares back together, I assume means like putting the blocks of cocaine back together. Or maybe like controlling blocks like in the city. I don't know, but it works really well. And I could just have this sample forever. I could just have that wood block 2, 3, 4. It's great. Town and Country is the next song. I found this sample. Oh, I want to tell you about this sample. I want you to listen to this one too, because you listen to the whole song and you think, oh, I got the wrong song actually. I got the wrong song. You got to listen to the very end. You got to listen to the part where I wouldn't think to sample from this song. But Nicholas Craven doesn't only, because the thing is, people have been crate diving forever, right? But like for most of it, it's like just find a good break, find something funky. What's great about this new movement is that people are crate diving for like all sorts of emotional reasons, all sorts of interesting loops, all sorts of soundscapes and atmospheres that aren't just the Apache break, Never would be missed if I lived behind. Voices layer all over each other. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, because the original lyrics, my life is such a little part of time, and I never would be missed if I left behind. This is what I'm saying, where the time is at the end of the line. So time and I would never be missed if I left time. So that's what ends up coming across. Great choruses. It's funny because it seems as though people criticize Boldy for not being, catchy enough. But inevitably, he always knows which of his verses need to be turned into the chorus and need to be the which are the most catchy. It is great. It's just great. Wait, did I mess up the pages? No. Good. Again, there's more of this telephone call. He talks about how great Montreal is. Again, I'll keep saying it. Montreal is one of the greatest cities on planet Earth, okay? I've been to many, many, many cool cities. And as far as places to visit, here's places you need to visit, according to Professor Sky. I'm saying outside of Paris and New York and all the places you know. 3 places you might not know that you absolutely must go. Memphis, Tennessee, Montreal, Canada, and Sarajevo in Bosnia. Those are my 3 favorite places I've visited. But the difference is Montreal is like 5 hours away. 09 Trey has the only feature on the album, Gooey Wop? Don't know. I like his voice though. I like the way it interplays off of Boldy James. This is okay. This is like one of my favorite examples of. So if you follow Nicholas Craven on Instagram, he's shown some kind of behind the scene footage of them making this album, which is basically, it seems like just chilling out in an apartment with like a microphone. Just like a microphone and just chilling out in an apartment. So like there's this tuned up harpsichord and then it says welcome back. And Boldy manages to end one verse with the words welcome Matt. So it's like welcome Matt, welcome back. It's just, it's awesome the way that they work together. Monterey Jack is the next song. Probably my least favorite song on the album, although I think it's good. Just, I'm always positive, so it's good if I let you know. Not everything is a 10. Not everything is a 9, 10. I've been making the push for Nicholas Craven to have a producer tag. And I think he should take the children's rhymes from Nightmare on Elm Street, directed by Wes Craven, but take the French versions and put them in the back. But maybe, you know what? Maybe I should shut up, because he's a great rap producer. And I'm just sitting around in my living room. But It can't all be conductor. We have a problem. Monterey Jack, what I like about this is it's got this kind of echoing piano and then a muted trumpet. Now, if there's no words, there's no hope of me finding the sample. You know, the only way I ever find any of these samples is just goofing around with different words, you know, word searches, and I can usually pick up like sort of general areas. Like it takes me a while, but this is just great because I can't find it. The only word you hear is silence, but you don't hear it on every loop. You hear it only at the end of a certain loop, and this great gentle drum fill. Did I say this is my least favorite song on the album? I don't know, because it's a really good song. And it happens to have one of my favorite sets of lyrics from Can't F with Possums, No Pigs, No Gophers, No Rats, no gerbils, got this half white, said damn what happened to Virgil, rhyming gerbils and Virgil, and just no pigs, no gophers, no gerbils. I understand that these are all metaphorical animals, you know, for police and for, you know, police informants and all that. But I also just like the idea of Boldy James just like showing up at a zoo and just being super pissed. Is that a possum? Oh, is that a pig? Okay, actually, that sounds like a pretty bad zoo. You go to a zoo, it's all pigs and possums. He also says, tell him to click the link in my bio, which is funny. I do like, too, how in this conversation, you know, because there's this thing where Nicholas Craven extends out the beat a little bit and has, like, this conversation that keeps going. And the way that Boldy says it is he keeps laying this pain down. And again, that's why I think it's so interesting to study this stuff, because it's not just, hey, look at me, look at how many crack I sell. It's like, hey, look at me, I'm hurt. I'm in a lot of pain, and this life has been difficult, and maybe if I describe it and someone pays me to do it, I don't have to live that life anymore. Speaking of which, I think this album goes on sale in November, so I'm going to try and buy this album, thanks to my Patreons. Next song is called Designer Drugs. Here, okay, did he go too far? Did Nicholas Craven go too far? This is like the cheesiest sample. This is like Entertainment Tonight John Tesh special. It's like welcome to the Eastview Mall. We've got all of your shopping needs. It's not too far. It's awesome. It's that thing that I'm talking about. Like he keeps it light. Like he digs deep into the crates, and what he finds is like, what is this? What is this light 80s? This is like vaporwave music, but not all chopped up. It's just like the normal stuff that you would hear in the 80s walking around in a Macy's. There's probably the funniest line from Boldy James. I'm a real hustler. I could sell blood to a vampire. Yeah, bro, that's not that impressive. I mean, vampires... I mean, I suppose they would prefer to suck blood, but not all of them. Plenty of vampires, you know, would love the opportunity to buy blood. You know, he delivers it like, you know, I could sell ice to an Eskimo. I could sell ice to an Inuit, excuse me. You know, I could sell snow to someone from Montreal, you know. But it's actually like vampires want blood. So, like, you know, not much of a hustler. Next song is called Six Toes. Now here, Boldy shows off an attempt at writing a hook. Like one time for this, two times for that. Great piano and ride, kind of a pulsing beat. One time for the gargoyles. What? Gargoyles? How is nobody... Okay, maybe someone else has done that. Tell me in the comments. I know a lot about rap music, but I don't know a lot more than I do know. Has anyone else referred to drug dealers as gargoyles? Is this like a thing? Because this is such a smart idea. You know, because gargoyles are on the corners of buildings. They scare people. They're cool. You know? I just... Somehow I didn't think of this. I've never thought about this before. And so, you know, he keeps counting all the things, and then he says 6 toes. So I think it's because he counts 5 things, and then he says a 6th. So, like, that 6th thing is 6 toes, and I assume that means that's how good he is at stepping on bricks. It's called for traveling. The funniest one-liner in this album, he just slips in and doesn't repeat. Most of his good one-liners, he repeats a couple times. He's the realest, breathe in, if I hold my breath. That is just a great line. Slows down at the end, which is great atmosphere. Penultimate track is You Ain't No Menace, pitched up sample. This is really going to that larger theme of his trauma of growing up, being 10 years old, starting to sell crack. He does use the F slur for gay people, which I haven't heard in a long time in rap music. That was kind of moving its way out. I'm not a fan of it here. We just gotta move past that word. I am a fan of the line, I can turn a softball into a chicken McNugget. I don't know what it means, but that wins the Pusha T award. That's the got the tennis balls for the wrong sport. I could turn a softball into chicken McNuggets. I understand. And please tell me in the comments, after you smash the like bucket, please tell me in the comments what does the crack dude mean by I can turn a softball into a chicken McNugget? But all I can think of is like Joe Bluth with a softball and turning into a chicken McNugget. Again, I'm obsessed with TikTok because I don't know how to do it and I suck at it. But like, can we start something where people do like Boldy James that says I could turn a softball into a chicken McNugget and they like blink and they turn a softball into a chicken McNugget? Like, why does bad music get to have all the TikTok and old music? How about good new music? All right. Next track is Power Nap, which I've already discussed. So, Nicholas Craven versus The Field, is the Bruins, did Conductor Williams, I think he can be the Bruins this time. Did he win? Or Camouflage Monk, who would be the, who else beat the Canadians in the 70s? The Flyers. Nope. Nicholas Craven wins the week. I didn't think he did at first because there's so many good beats on the Rome Streets album. There's so many good beats on it. But taken in the whole, like which producer did more and made more, despite the fact that Camouflage Monk just made so many great beats on that album. And this competition is competition between greats, okay? This really is great on great. But the subtlety and the joy that is found in Nicholas Craven's beats, I think, allows him to win out. I think I'll give it to Rome Streets, though. I think I prefer his style a little bit more, a little bit lighter. But at the same time, I think Boldy James's stuff is a little bit more meaningful. God, I don't know. I can't make a decision. You tell me. You tell me in the comments. Who wins for the producer of the week? Who wins for the rapper of the week? And don't say Blady. I know, I'll get to Blady. If you're a Swedish rap fan, I'll get to him. Those guys love to post. Review Blady. Also, don't call him Blady. All right. Well, until next time, I hope you enjoyed this little underground rap thing that's been going on this week. I have to get back. I have to call someone to interview for an adjunct position at my college because I'm the guy in charge of hiring. That's how I step on bricks. There's the camera.